Hi everyone, Peter here once again. Thanks for joining me on the channel once again. If it's your first time here, this is Thailand Bound and I speak about all things Thailand. Right, if you're a regular viewer to the channel, you'll know I was in Thailand. I just got back. By the time this airs, I'll have been back for about 2 weeks. I made a lot of videos while I was in Thailand, but I'm now back in the UK and I'm going to continue as I left off before I went, and that was with a love story. So I've got 3 great stories for you today, guys, as always. The first one is quite a long story. It's a good story. The 2 at the end are quite short, and I've got some great photographs to add in with the one at the end. The last story was sent in by a guy who was in Thailand in the 60s, and he sent me a couple of pictures of Pattaya Beach before there was much there, so that's something to look forward to. So as always, I won't waste any of your time. I'll get straight into these stories and I'll just start reading them out. Here's the first one. See what you think of this, guys.
สวัสดีค่ะ
Hello Peter, I've always enjoyed your story segments, but always considered myself lucky that I didn't have a story worthy of making it onto your channel. That recently changed, and since I've enjoyed listening to the stories, I feel I should contribute as well. We can learn a lot from these stories, which is another reason I share it. I moved to Khon Kaen in Isan about a year ago. There's not a whole lot to do, and the local scene feels like been there, done that rather quickly. For a bit of variety, I started to visit the neighbouring cities of Udon Thani and Nong Khai. There's a train that runs from Khon Kaen to both cities, and it's actually an enjoyable ride through the Isan countryside. On one of these trips to Nong Khai, I stumbled into one of the beer bars to shoot some pool. As you said in a recent video, the bar girls are fantastic pool players, and I enjoy shooting pool with them. I grew up with a pool table in my home but got bored with the game over time, as players you find out in the bars back home are generally average, as with little challenge the game can get boring. Like I'm sure many of the viewers here, I became humbled quite quickly after initially thinking I could walk into these bars in Thailand and beat the best of the girls in each bar. I'm not ashamed to admit that I've been schooled by these girls on many occasions at the pool table. I enjoy playing the girls for drinks. It ensures you get their best game, and the girls have actually been the ones buying me drinks on quite a few occasions. Win or lose though, I usually end up buying them a few drinks regardless. At the end of the day, I'm there for fun and they are there to make money, but they seem to be having fun as well. Many of the girls that leave the scene often return, and sometimes it's not because of money. I've known quite a few that were being taken care of by their foreign boyfriends but couldn't handle staying at home and missed the whole bar scene, often returning to it despite not needing the money. I walked into a bar in Nong Khai and I took a seat at the bar. I swiveled round to watch the girls all playing pool together. One of them really caught my eye. She seemed to be in her late 20s with a stunning body. She was wearing one of those Chinese gowns that had nothing but lace going up the left side, so you could see quite a bit of her body from head to toe, and she was in fantastic shape. We kept locking eyes and smiling. I've been around the block, so chalk this up to what is usually flirting to get the drinks going. I had a few drinks and decided to check out some of the other bars, but kept thinking about that fantastic body and smile. I soon found out myself back in the bar just in time for a tournament of Killer. Killer is a popular game here in Isan that usually has the whole bar playing, with a nice mix of Thai and foreigners, including many local Thai men who enjoy drinking and shooting pool in these bars also. Everyone puts in 100 baht and gets 3 marks. You lose a mark when you miss a shot. Last one standing wins a pot. This time the last one standing was a mama-san. All those years in the bar had really developed her into a sharp player. After the game, I started playing with the girl I was there for, and I bought her a few drinks. We really clicked well together, and there was no doubt she was the one I wanted to see for more drinks back at the hotel. I gave the usual let's get out of here to get the ball rolling, but she seemed caught off guard and asked me to stay until her shift was over at midnight. The bar scene here during the pandemic feels like a throwback to the times of prohibition. We almost drink from coffee cups or with a 0 alcohol bottle next to our cups, and the aluminium doors roll down at 10 o'clock. We continue behind closed doors. With the doors down, the girls will sometimes start to panic and get everyone to stay still and quiet while the lights go off. They've picked up the scent of the police rolling down the street. It's a bizarre experience that makes me think this is what it must have felt like back in the 1920s. It's doubly bizarre knowing that everyone knows what's going on, including the badgers rolling by outside, but they are all playing their part in the charade. Like many things here in Thailand, the rules are selectively enforced, and a lot of what goes on is just for show. I'm getting off track quite a bit, but I think these points might give viewers some insight into things that normally don't get discussed or that are unique to these times. The aluminium doors rolled down and Nee and I continued to play pool. I thought maybe she was trying to save me the bar fine by waiting a bit longer, which is something the girls will do sometimes. So midnight rolls around and I'm like, great, now let's go. But she wants to stay longer and is behaving in a very coy way. There is no talk of money and the whole thing just feels out of sorts from how this usually goes down. Viewers should know that not all girls leave with customers, and they shouldn't take offence if a girl won't leave with them, as some don't do it and are content with the money they get from the drinks. I was thinking maybe she was one of these girls, but they will almost always tell you this the moment you mention wanting to leave with them. She seemed very conflicted about staying or going, and I finally said, I'm leaving. If you want to stay, then stay. If you want to go, then let's go. Then gave her the often used expression here in Thailand, up to you. She said, wait 5 minutes. I want to change and get my things. I'm thinking, well, what was that so hard? What was so hard about that? She changes, still looking stunning, and we leave. She needs to head back to her nearby apartment for some more things. Again, I'm finding this odd as the girls are usually well prepared. After that, she wants to get some food. I'm thinking, is she trying to milk me for all I'm worth? The whole thing feels like she is delaying things and she is acting like a nervous girl on prom night. We finally make it back and she wants to eat, drink and talk. No, I mean actually drink. Again, this feels like more delay tactics and it feels like she's never done this before. It's all odd to me and I'm getting a bit frustrated. She showers and despite her nerves, we end up having a great time. I leave a small gift on the nightstand and expect she will be gone soon. But she's got all her stuff to stay overnight and seems to expect she will be sleeping here despite my never mentioning I wanted an overnight guest. Again, I find this odd and also find it odd that she didn't bring any protection but expected me to wear some. Again, these girls are usually prepared for everything, but she didn't seem prepared for anything. I went to sleep at about 2 a.m. I wake up and see she is playing roulette on her phone. I think she can't sleep and is playing a phone game. No big deal. I wake up another couple of hours later and she is still playing and seems to be getting upset. I take a closer look and see that this is an online casino. She grabs a gift I left and asks me to walk with her downstairs. I have no idea what's going on, but out of curiosity I agree. She heads out the lobby and a motorbike with two people pulls up. She hands them the money, they wire each other and then the motorbike speeds off. It's dawned on me, they're collectors for the casino. I worked in the casino business for 12 years and roulette has one of the biggest advantages for the house. I've witnessed roulette destroy people financially a number of times over the years. We head back up and I fall back to sleep. I wake up at about 7 a.m. She is still playing roulette. Wow, this should have been a huge red flag, but that should have prevented me from what was to come. But we're all human and I still make mistakes. I try to explain to her about my experience working in the casinos and how roulette is a losing proposition in the long run. I feel bad for her because after so many years in the casino, an addict is pretty easy to spot and I know where it leads. I have a train to catch, so a few hours later we say our goodbyes and I part ways. I don't think much of it over the next coming days. It was after all a nice little adventure. Life starts to get stale again back in Khon Kaen and I decide to once again catch a train. It feels like a rare adventure to take during these times and you get to lose a bit more in a place where you don't live. So I feel a bit like an excited kid when I take these trips. I think about Nee and decide to head over to her bar and say hi. I walk in and she is having drinks with some customers over at a table. Her eyes light up when I enter and I feel that the chemistry we had was not just something my imagination had crafted. I grab a seat at the bar and decide to have a few beers, listen to the music and let her do her thing. I'm an adult and I have no problem moving on if she's busy. It's part of the game. Shortly after my arrival, she breaks from the group and saddles up next to me. A few drinks in, I mention I want to go bar hopping, telling her it was great seeing her again, and then gather myself to leave. She grabs my arm and says, "I'm going with you." Grabs her stuff and we're out the door. I'm thinking, what about needing to stay until midnight like before? But I don't mention it, and no transactional conversation ever took place. Again, it's odd. We hop a few bars and have a great time together. We really have some great chemistry, and that translates into great chemistry back at the hotel. We drink late into the night, back at my hotel. I sleep soundly and awake at about 8 a.m. to the sight of Nee playing roulette on her phone and smacking her forehead in frustration. More lectures from me that I know will fall on deaf ears, but I can't help but think my time in the casino business might pull a little more weight and have a chance to help her. I can explain to her things about the game she doesn't understand. While some gamblers know the odds and continue, I know from my time in the business that many don't, and that she almost surely doesn't. It's a sad fact that many of the girls in the bars are undereducated. She finally falls asleep. I leave a gift on the nightstand and prepare to catch the train out of town. I kill a few hours and then wake her to give her a kiss and say goodbye. She's confused about my gift on the nightstand. She says, "You paid for all the food and drinks last night. Why are you giving me this?" I'm thinking, is this a put on? I say it's a gift for you. She tries to give it back. I'm thinking, no need for a show here, just take it. But she keeps persisting. Eventually, I convince her that it will stay on the nightstand whether she takes it or not. Kiss her goodbye and I head out of town. We text back and forth quite often after that. She says she wants me to have the money back that I had gifted her and asks for my bank account number so she can transfer the money to me. Viewers should know that exchanging account numbers for this purpose is not uncommon in Thailand, but whoa, I'm very skeptical. Even though we are now beyond being acquaintances and I trust her, there is no way I'm giving my bank account number to a gambler. I know how crafty an addict can be and I'm not taking any chances. I'd rather she have the money anyway. We chat every day and I eventually learned that she had only been working in the bar for a month and had never left with anyone before or since. Now I know what some of the vets are thinking, come on mate, what a mug, but I am no rookie. All the things I found odd before finally started to add up, and yeah, I believe her. Not because of what she said, but because of all the circumstantial evidence based on her actions and behaviours. I'll say I am in a good shape, above average, carry a conversation with women better than most guys at the bar, in case anyone is trying to find a reason for why she broke her ways for me. She was also becoming way more attached than other girls I've chatted with before. She was constantly wanting to video chat. It was becoming a bit smothering, but because we'd had so much fun together, I enjoyed more of it than I normally would. I've always said I would never date a bar girl. The cautionary tales we hear on your channel being one of many reasons. When she mentions wanting to come live with me, I'm like, whoa, pump the brakes. First off, I'm not going to support you or give you a salary like some foreigners do. You can come here for a week and we can see how it goes. I'll pay for all your food and drinks, but that's it. My gut was telling me it was a bad idea, but below the gut I was thinking this could be a lot of fun for a week. She is not Thai, she was from one of the bordering countries, and she was asking if you need ID to get a train ticket or if they check ID on the train. There are lots of people living in Thailand from the border countries and not all of them are up to date on their visas. It's becoming apparent she can't hop on the train. My gut was telling me this is your out. Below the gut was telling me just rent a car, drive up there and bring her here. I tell her if I do this, she has to promise me to stop playing roulette. She agrees, and I'll note that I never saw her play it again. I rent the car, make the drive, and we have a wonderful drive back. It felt like we were newlyweds. The beginning of a relationship is always the time I enjoy most. We get back, and while I'm out getting food for us, I get a text asking me to pick up some sanitary napkins. That time of the month has just begun. Oh, for Pete's sake, I can't believe my luck. Obviously, it's not something you can fake, so I knew it wasn't an excuse to avoid aerobics. And while she had been shy the first night, the second night she had been more eager than me. At least she was great company and loved giving me fantastic strong massages for literally hours on end. She really treated me great. I was even thinking, I know what I've said in the past, but this might go somewhere. Besides, I think I can make an exception considering the circumstances which had come to light about her being a drinks only girl. I've had a few weeks to distance myself from the situation, and yes, I firmly believe she was being honest about that the more I have thought about it. Despite it being that time, I decided to make the best of the situation and still have a great week together. She made sure I was happy in other ways. The second night we decided to go out for a few drinks and check out the local scene. We had a good time for a few hours, then returned home. This is where our story takes a turn for the worst. Upon arrival, her personality does a 180-degree turn and she starts screaming at me in Thai. I can't understand why she is mad, but she is furious about something. Through translation apps, I learned she is now listing off a dozen things I have done wrong. These mainly stem from jealousy issues. She is mad about photos of my ex being on my phone. She is mad about me glancing at another woman in the bar. She is mad. Well, it turns out she's just mad. She proceeds to hang out on the balcony and yell all night at me in Thai. I try pleading with her to stop. I don't understand what she is saying and I have no idea why she is this angry. I have a view of the courtyard which echoes horribly and the entire community can surely hear her. The only bright side I can see is that because she is yelling in Thai, the neighbours might think it is a local couple having a row. In one of these outbursts, she suddenly breaks for the kitchen, grabs a knife and starts charging me. Time slows down. I can't believe this is happening. My mind is suddenly split as I process what is happening. Part of me is flight or fight mode. The other part is thinking, oh, this is a female Thai move I've read about enough times to know it's just a tactic they like to use to get your attention. Tactic or not, I'm not taking any chances. She is literally half my size and it takes little effort to wrestle her to the bed and take the knife away. I proceed to gather up all the sharp objects in the house and place them out of reach from her. Hours of yelling continue and as the sun is rising she is finally starting to tire. She assures me I can go to sleep because she really loves me and wouldn't hurt me. Oh well, that certainly puts my mind at ease. I'll sleep like a log. After I hear her start to snore, I eventually fall asleep as well. I wake up thinking, how the hell am I going to get rid of her? I can't just put her on a train or bus. She can't use her ID. Crap, I'm going to have to drive her back and I want it done quickly. No way do I want her staying any longer than necessary, but I need to work so it needs to wait a day. I mentioned that I will take her back, but she is insisting on staying the week and apologises profusely. She's literally at my feet begging forgiveness. I need to buy at least another day, so I tell her she is forgiven and hope that it's just an issue related to it being that time of the month and that it won't happen again. I tell her that it can't happen again or I'm calling the cops. This carries extra weight, or I think it will, because she can't be showing her ID. I finish work and hope for the best. She is being especially sweet and trying to salvage things as best as she can. I soon start to feel comfortable again and we head out for dinner. Things surely aren't going to be back to the newlywed stage again, but I do manage to let her back into the fold slightly. If for no other reason than to make the drive back less miserable than I already anticipate it will be. We get home that night and she is about to slip into bed wearing the same clothes she was wearing when we were out and about. I'm a bit of a neat freak and ask her to change her clothes and shower before bed, explaining that it's a quirk of mine and that during these times we should be more sanitary anyway. Whoa, she takes this the wrong way. She thinks I've insinuated that she is unclean, takes horrible offence and starts screaming at me in Thai again. I explain, look, you saw me do the same thing. It's a rule I hold to myself. She won't listen to reason and I see that last night wasn't just a fluke. For whatever reason, she just wants to fight and the reasons don't matter. I have absolutely no tolerance for this. I have to hatch a plan and end this as soon as possible. The night proceeds with her threatening to jump off the balcony several times. I stop her the first few times and I'm thinking, yep, another tactic I've read about many times. She's probably not serious, but I'm not taking any chances. Eventually, just too exhausted, I lay in bed looking at the ceiling, wondering if I'm going to hear the screaming of a jumper, but knowing damn well I won't. Not getting the attention she wants, she now says I'm leaving and proceeds to start packing, hoping I will try to stop her. I'm frozen in bed, praying to all the gods out there, please let this be the one thing she is being sincere about. I'm mentally prepared to rush to the door and lock it the minute I hear it close, but of course it never opens. Normally, I would call the police in this situation, and I threaten to, but I don't do it because even though she is making my life hell, I don't want her getting into trouble that would await her if I did that. As the sun rises, she finally exhausts herself. Yes, she stayed up all night yelling because I asked her to wear some pajamas in bed and not her street clothes. I need to think fast. This can't go on. I call in sick and grab the nearest rental car I can find. I had given her a second chance. I know she will refuse to leave again. I need to come up with a plan. I say to myself, come on Bob, think of something. You can come up with an idea. When she wakes, I explain to her that this isn't going to work and that I will be taking her back today. As I predicted, she immediately starts refusing and begging for forgiveness. I launch into my plan. I explain, look, you lost a second chance. I told you that if you behave like that again, I wasn't taking you home. I explained to her that I've always kept my word to her and that this was not going to be an exception. I am keeping my word again and she will be leaving. But calm down, I have an idea. You blew the second chance, but I'm going to give you one last chance. I'll take you home and I will see you on weekends, but it's your last chance. If we fight again, it will be over. She seems to understand that it's this deal or nothing and finally relents. As I'm packing, she inquires about me leaving some things at her place since I will be coming to stay on the weekends. I've no choice but to sell this, so I say, of course, and begin to pack some things she knows I can't live without. I'm sure I can casually transfer some of them into my day pack once we arrive. I somehow survived the drive back, and believe me, I'm sick of bouncing between these two cities at this point. I unpack my stuff and put on my best Academy Award performance that evening and leave the next day successfully, transferring the things I need without notice. I get home and breathe a sigh of relief. It's over. The next day I go to grab one of these items I must have and gulp, it's not there. There were two items that I can't part with I had accidentally left behind. How could I have been so careless? I can't believe this. I'm actually going to have to go back as I had said I would do in my plan. I take the train back that weekend and she is bubbling with joy and saying she was worried I had only said those things to get rid of her and would abandon my things. Again, I aim for the Oscar with my acting, but now I need to do it not just verbally, but physically as well. It's going to be another night of fighting if I don't sell it. Fortunately, despite me not being mentally attracted to her anymore, I was still very much physically attracted to her and had no problems pulling off this final act or acts. I had casually retrieved the items I needed and was waiting for my chance to escape the next morning. After waking, she began asking me about my ex. After this went on for a bit, she was getting pushy about it. I used it as a reason for losing her last chance. I grabbed my bag, threw on my shoes and bolted for the door. Of course, she tried to stop me, but being half my size, I easily brushed her aside and began walking hurriedly down the street. About 100 meters later, I hear her screaming, "Darling, darling," and look back to see her running after me. She's like the Terminator, she just won't give in. I begin running knowing she can't catch me. She quickly gives up, and as luck would have it, the next train is leaving soon. I run all the way to the train station and quickly buy a ticket. In the station, I find a spot where a passerby can't see in for fear she will try and find me. She is texting me non-stop and I warn her that I will need to block her. She dares me to, so I do. What a relief. Over the next few weeks, she will update her Line profile and timeline with messages and photos and clearly aimed at getting to me to unblock her. You can still see those when you've blocked someone. The train pulls away and I can finally relax. It's over. To kill time, I put on my headphones and pull up YouTube. No lying. One of your viewers' stories episodes has just come out and I have a listen. Enjoying it as usual, and about halfway through it, it dawns on me. Crap, I think I have a submission. So there you go, guys. Lesson learned. There are girls who work in the bar who do have genuine mental health problems, and it's not always easy to see these problems. But I would generally say in this situation, just get out of it as fast as you can. I mean, the way she acted was horrendous, taking a knife to him. You can't put up with that, can you? Right, let's jump straight into these last two stories, which are very, very short. Now, this second story was sent to me by a Singaporean national, a Singaporean guy, and as always, I'll just crack straight on. I thought I might tell a funny Bangkok story that happened to me. This was all a few years ago. Many of the details are fuzzy, except for the punchline in the end. I'm a Singaporean in my 40s now who went to Thailand several times a year, mostly for work. When I had time, I would spend most evenings in the nightlife areas. Sometimes I would take a go-go or bar girl out, but always tried to keep in mind about the nature of the ensuing relationship in case some feelings crept up unawares. I've been to Nanaplaza on Sukhumvit Soi 4 quite a lot. Sometimes I went to the most popular go-go bar there at the time, but not as often as I would have liked. The ladies there are mostly good looking, but it was far too crowded and the waitresses can be too pushy. However, on one visit there was a go-go dancer who was so attractive I could not help get her to sit at my table and drink with me. She had these features resembling a particular South Korean pop star actress. This was in contrast, which I liked a lot. To her very elaborate multicoloured tattoos on her bodies, tattoos of birds including a gorgeous peacock or phoenix going down her calves. Let me call her Mrs. Tattoo. I asked if she'd like to come to my hotel room and she said yes. I did not feel like taking a taxi there as my hotel was located in the middle between Nana and Soicowboy. We walked, but halfway to our destination it began to rain a little, so we hurried. This ended being a minor mistake as Mrs. Tattoo had high heels on. When we arrived at my hotel building, I noticed her cheerful mood had reduced by about 20%. To sort of reset the situation, I thought we might take a quick drink down at the hotel basement bar. The bar, which is world famous, was filled to the brim with ladies. He's talking about Therme Cafe. Mrs. Tattoo was very curious about the establishment. I'm sure a few of your viewers know about this basement bar. After our drink, we left to go up to my room. On the elevator ride there, she asked me a lot of questions. She had never heard of that basement bar. From her facial reactions to my answers, it appeared she was making a mental note to return to the bar with a few of her go-go lady friends to try her luck a little bit later on. She was even more beautiful in my room. Come to think of it, she was probably the most gorgeous woman I had ever been with up to that point. I had a splendid time but had problems completing the deed due to having drunk a little too much that night. My delay seemed to upset her a bit. I had to convince her that it was me, not her, but I hope to see her again on my next trip. Back home in Singapore, I would sometimes catch myself daydreaming about her. I looked for her again during the preceding trip, but she was gone. I did not memorize her badge number, so I had no choice but to put it down as one of those single happy memories to cherish. I tried not to let my missing her and the regret overwhelm me. Her go-go bar closed due to some issue. It then reopened a few months later, then changed locations. One day, a few years later, I was at the new go-go location and suddenly saw Mrs. Tattoo there in the corner. She was busy entertaining some other customers and did not notice me. From what I could see, she had not changed a lot. She still had the same tight body and the tattoos. Finally, after about half an hour of trying to get her attention, I asked one of the waitresses to ask Mrs. Tattoo directly whether she would like to go with me. The waitress sent the message. I saw Mrs. Tattoo look back at me, locking eyes with me. She smiled sweetly. Yes, she remembered me. My heart sparked with joy. Instead of going to my place, which was far away, we went to a nearby hotel about 5 minutes from Nana. In the hotel room, before I went to shower, I gladly remarked how pleased I was to see her, as I thought we would never meet again. I said that I thought she stopped working at the go-go bar or went to work somewhere else when it closed. When I returned from showering, I noticed she still had her clothes on and still held her handbag and wore her shoes. Was she preparing to leave? For a second, I thought I had been scammed in some way. She said she had something important to tell me. She said this was the first time we'd ever been together. I was at first surprised and was a bit hurt by this. So she really had forgotten me, which I can understand could be normal as go-go girls meet many people. Then she took out her smartphone and showed me pictures of another girl who looked a lot like her. It turned out that I had went out with her elder sister many years ago. They really did look a lot alike, and I even had to ask her twice whether they were actually twins, not just sisters. They even had the same type of multicoloured bird tattoo, only that this younger Miss Tattoo, was not as elaborate or big. I began laughing hard and she did too. Somehow this established a closer rapport between us. She asked whether I still wanted to be with her. I said yes. She beamed with delight. Our time in that hotel room was more relaxed. The younger Miss Tattoo had a more playful way about her than her sister. Her face was continually smiling widely and warmly. Every few minutes I had to stop and laugh again at my friend's mistake at this stage, turn of events in which we found ourselves. She told me that her sister was away for 2 or 3 years but might return. Even today I still did not know what that meant. Maybe the older sister was at school, or maybe she was overseas for a temporary period, or maybe she was married to someone and was planning to end it in 2 or 3 years' time. But I did not ask further. I never did see either of them again. I guess the relationship would have quickly turned awkward if I ever encountered two sisters together, but what a strange coincidence. So there you go, there's a little bit of a quirky story there. It's actually quite surprising the number of sisters who work in the entertainment industry. There is quite a lot of them. You do come across them, but that was quite a fun story. Right, so this last story was sent to me by a guy who was in the US military, was in the army, and he was sent to Thailand in the 60s, so a real long time ago. Now it's a very short story and I'm going to struggle with some of the pronunciations, but it's quite interesting. I want to read it out to you. At the end of the story I'm going to put in one or two photographs that he sent me that were taken on a camera back then in the 60s, and one of them is of Pattaya Beach, the beach road, and you'll see just how different it was then to what it is now. So I'll get straight into this, and as I say, it is a very short one. Hello Peter, I'm one of your many fans out here in YouTube land. You, Simon and Trevor do an outstanding job putting out good info in your videos and stories. I first arrived in Thailand in September 1968 as a member of the US Army. My first duty station was in Korat. After a brief stay there, part of my unit and myself were assigned to a base camp. This was an engineering unit involved in pipeline construction. Pattaya being 20 miles away, some of the guys would head there on weekends. In October 1968, the Nipper Lodge was the only hotel I recall. A photo taken at that time shows a small populated fishing village with very few developments. Back then, the Sukhumvit Highway had one lane in each direction. We'd flagged down a blue bus on our time off, and 15 baht or 75 cents would deliver you to the Eggamai bus station in Bangkok. From there, we'd grab a local bus for 50 satang or 2.5 cents and head to our various haunts. I did a total of 2 years in Thailand to finish out my army enlistment. It was 3 months into my second touring country in January 1970 that I met my future wife. This was at a base camp adjacent to the Lao border in the province of Salon Nakhon. She was employed by the US Army as a house girl. One of my obnoxious one-liners is, I made the maid. So he spelt that I made is M-A-D-E and the maid as in M-A-I-D. We'll be celebrating 50 years of marriage coming up on the 2nd of February 2022. We would have celebrated this event in Bangkok if Movid had been behind us, and also celebrated Chinese New Year with her family. Anyhow, Peter, thanks again, and if I ever run into any of you fellas over there, the food and drinks is all on me. Let's hope I run into him then. Now, that was a great little story. So 1970, I was 10 years old, so I'm guessing he's quite a bit older than me. Okay, guys, so I'm going to, I will just pop those photographs on the end there. be back next Friday, 9 p.m. For the live stream. I hope you can join me there. More stories next Saturday. So until then, guys, thanks for putting up with me for half an hour or so once again, and I'll see you all on Friday.